How's everyone doing? We're starting. Strength Chat episode 45, and you've got 2 for the price of 1 today. 3 for the price of 1. My bad. If it's on YouTube, obviously you can see all these. If you're on Spotify, today I am joined by James and Joe of Sustain Nutrition. How are you both doing?
Good, thank you. Well, actually, we've just finished a horrific strongman workout, so I'm absolutely shattered.
My back's a bit zingy.
Anyone that's listened to any other podcasts, obviously I've had quite a lot of powerlifters on. I'm a powerlifter myself. I had to go and have a strong look at myself in the mirror halfway through this class.
Whilst faking, pretend he's got to.
I need to go to the toilet.
You look like you've been crying, Steve.
Right then, so how have you been? What have you been up to? What's been going on?
Go on, Joe. You like to talk.
Well, yeah, we've been good, thank you. So myself and James have run Sustain for the last 3 years. So we've been coaching people primarily around fat loss from like an ethical standpoint. So our thing is to try to focus on nutrient quality rather than other approaches that may not focus on these things. So yeah, we've got 3 years. Things going well. We're now based above.
Look at me like you're some kind of relationship.
I'm checking so I get everything right. So based out of Generation Fit in Bramley. Yeah, everything's good. What do you want to add to that?
I think, we've got a slightly different approach where we don't do meal plans as such. We coach our clients. Am I supposed to look at you or the camera?
Let's go a little bit of both.
So we coach our clients. So it's really kind of building an approach that fits around their lives as opposed to just saying, eat this. Yeah. So it's kind of more of a family-friendly, sensible approach, really.
Yeah, I guess we kind of almost responded to the body coach. Obviously, he was massive maybe a year or so ago and a bit less so now, from giving people meal plans and saying, you should eat this, this, and this. And then you see people fall off a cliff day 91, 92 when they finish and have no idea what to eat. And it's because...
Oh, day 7.
Yeah, they're not really... It doesn't fit in their lives. It's too much prep. It's just too awkward for the average person out there trying to lose fat.
Yeah.
So that's...
It works 9 to 5 and has a family and has a life.
Yeah, it wasn't that we set out as a response to that. It just happened that the approach that we thought would work kind of fitted in at that time point.
Yeah, for anyone that follows any of Sustain's content and put out there, what I quite like is that it's not dead complicated. Sometimes you can get bogged down with this, that, and the other. Whereas it's
what's
just
the optimal post-workout carb? You don't need that.
Yeah, simple is best. So for anyone listening that might not necessarily know your backgrounds, how did you get involved in coaching, in training, and how has it progressed to obviously where you are now with your own office and that sort of stuff?
Well, I was born on June 24th.
This is a long podcast.
I've got 40 years to make up. I've been personal training for around 15 years. Been into training since I was like 15. Started off with martial arts, then got into weights, then eventually kind of evolved into personal training, where I worked at Fitness First, and then Virgin Active, where I met Joseph. We worked together for 2 years at Virgin.
Yeah,
about that, and then we went to another gym that we won't mention. We worked there, and then Joe came up with the idea of Sustain. So we started doing that part time, and then eventually, through different circumstances, ended up working full time, and that's been us for the last 3 years, kind of evolving this. We kind of started it thinking, in a year we'll have this all nailed.
Yeah.
And it'll be perfect, and we'll just kind of run it. And it's kind of 3 years on, and it's still evolving, still getting better, but still enjoying it.
Yeah, I think my path is similar, but slightly different. So I got into fitness kind of similar age, like at 15. I was about, I don't know if you know this, I was about 5.5 stone lighter than I am now at the same height.
Most of that's head.
What?
So I was like 6'3", 11 stone, 15-year-old. So my whole thing has always been...
You didn't go out when it was windy then?
No, not really, no. It's heavy shoes. Not without my turtleneck. I'm ginger for the podcast. So my thing was always to try to add weight, and then I guess I didn't really have any interest in nutrition until I got to uni. I got really bored eating pizzas and pasta bolognese, so I kind of taught myself to cook a bit, and then I just got more and more into it from there. I did a history degree at uni because I wanted to be a lawyer, and I realised that wasn't what I actually enjoyed. So as soon as I finished uni, I did my PT qualifications, went to Virgin Active, bet yourself, had the idea for Sustain, and then just went from there, really. And I think that if someone said to me, coaching is a skill, I'd be like, if you'd asked me this 3 years ago, I'd have gone, no, it's not. You just tell people what to do. And then the more that we've worked with people and the more books I've read and the more I've read of other coaches and made mistakes like with our own clients, loads and loads of mistakes, the better I've gotten. And the more that I would say that it is a really, not a unique skill, but it is a tough skill to manage to work with people, especially online, where you can say to someone, that wasn't the best choice. And someone might read that as, that wasn't the best choice. You have the subtleties of online coaching, which I think a lot of the industry is kind of moving that way, because it means you can work with more people, and that's cool because more people are going to get a better service. But it's hard if you're used to talking to someone, looking them in the eyes and being able to display what you're thinking easier, to then taking that all away and having to get the messages across. And it makes you really think about how to talk to different people and how to get the most out of them.
Yeah, I think from all the guests that I've had, it's sort of
most handsome,
absolutely
sweatiest.
This is the sweatiest podcast.
Heaviest and sweatiest.
A lot of the same theme is sort of like the training side of things can sort of take care of itself. Obviously, people can get stronger and that sort of stuff, but getting the best out of people and pointing people in the right direction is sometimes the hardest bit, but you get the biggest benefit.
Yeah, knowing when to kind of push, when to pull, and when to comfort.
Yeah, I think everyone has their moments, don't they? And you have to read between the lines on messages sometimes, and you don't always get it right. I think I'm a bit of a perfectionist and stuff like that, so it frustrates me when I say something and people take it the wrong way, because taking ownership of that's my fault, because I've not got the message across the right way. And you always just kind of learn from that, don't you, and try to find different ways.
Yes.
So going on to the main bulk of the podcast then, obviously you said at the start, if people are working 9 till 5, busy schedules and that sort of stuff, it could be mooring down the road wanting to lose a little bit of fat, or Joe Blogs wanting to put on a little bit of muscle. Do you have a starting point? Is there anything that you do first to point people in the right direction?
Yeah, we've got kind of a loose set of parameters that we kind of call our commandments, which is just the first kind of 4 concentrate on putting nutritious food in, and then the last 4 kind of concentrate on avoiding less nutritious choices. So it's kind of eat protein at every meal, eat fibrous veg twice a day, eat healthy fats twice a day, drink at least 2 liters of water. And then it's things like, kind of avoid processed carbs, avoid alcohol, kind of building healthy habits. So kind of things like that. So it's not saying you can't have a beer or some chocolate or some pizza, but we're kind of trying to promote eating more lean proteins, fibrous vegetables that are going to kind of reduce the amount of, kind of processed foods and things like that you're going to eat. So it's just kind of increasing food quality, really.
The first thing that we do with people, isn't it, is get them to log their food. So when we have like a 7-day trial of our system, which is what we offer, is people will send us their food, and then we'll use the 10 commandments James just mentioned to score their food. And like James said, it's not, you can't have these things. It's just making people aware of what they're having. And obviously there's always going to be flaws with systems in the fact that someone could have some processed carbs, that's bread, or someone could have 2 Magnum ice creams. Obviously there's a massive calorie difference, but it's just awareness that perhaps bread isn't going to be the optimal carb to have.
Yeah.
So it's what's really important for us is the feedback. Is we say to people, and this is where it can be really helpful, to have that feedback, is to say you've got an 8 out of 10, but this is as good as a 10. You didn't have any protein at breakfast and you had a slice of bread. That's cool with me. If you have 2 bottles of wine and you get a 9 out of 10, then that's less than optimal because you've just had 1,200 extra calories. So it's just, if you get people to write, you'll have had this as a PT, and I can remember it, I don't want to say hundreds of times, but tens of times. How's your food? My food's pretty good. It's really rare that someone will say it's disastrous. Like 1 in 10 people will say that. And then you look at the average diet and you look at the commandments we just said: protein, fats, veg, avoid the processed stuff. It's obvious stuff. We all know what to do, but people will not fulfill those commandments.
Or if they're not recording it, they won't even realise it.
Yeah, people just have no idea, do they? I remember one time with a client when he gave me his food and he said, it looks really bad. He said, if you ask me if I eat pizza a lot, I'd say no, but it's on there twice, because we're really quick to just focus on what we've done right and to look past the little bits. Or people just, I don't want to say people don't know, because they do. They just aren't aware of the impact that it can have, I think.
I think sometimes, like you're saying there, if it's like an 8 or a 9, I think people strive for perfection, being perfect all the time. At the
start of a diet, especially,
And about tracking, I think I've done it when I've recorded my nutrition. Sometimes you won't bring it in, or show people, because either you're going to get basically told off being like, oh, what you're doing, or made to feel bad, instead of saying, well, actually, you did have protein with every meal, but you also had a beer with every meal. So it's a little bit, start early. So I think that method going forward obviously works. Does it matter what starting point people are at?
No, again, because it's coaching, then it's kind of, we'll tailor it to each people's, individuals. So it's all about kind of improving where you're at now. And again, it's another reason why we don't just do like a generic plan.
Yeah.
We don't just give out the command and stop it. Wait for it. So it's just a gauge, so you just need to start, like I say, improving what you're doing and take it at your own pace. So if someone really struggles to put protein in the breakfast, if they really want to keep eating crunchy nut cornflakes, then cool, do that, and then we'll work on other meals, and then we can kind of work our way through it and improve as we go. But there's no kind of rush to be perfect.
Yeah.
Like going back to what you said, a lot of people put too much pressure on themselves to be perfect. And then when they're not perfect, then they'll just quit.
Yeah.
Instead of kind of making those small, manageable changes that progress them.
No, I've lost my point now. I was unbelievably. I was listening.
What?
I was listening for a minute.
Yes.
What are we saying?
It's gone.
Yeah, absolutely gone. Yeah. Sorry, guys, lost in your eyes.
The beard. It's how we start people off, kind of where they're at.
Yeah.
Kind of reason why we coach.
And it's quite good because you can get that day one diary and it'll be flawless or very close to it. And you can say, is this how you normally eat? Because ultimately, if someone says yes, then you can be quite specific and you can say, well, actually, you may have had a bit too much, too many fats here. You had scrambled eggs and salmon.
And
you can have a little bit of veg in there. Whereas if someone comes back and their first diary is absolutely atrocious, not atrocious, it's a harsh word, but way off optimal, then you can then say, okay, what should we start with? What meals do you like eating? And then you can try and tailor it around. So if they love having toast for breakfast, then have 2 eggs on top. You can very quickly, everything's on a sliding scale from like doner kebabs to kale, isn't it? So you can kind of see where someone's at and just go one step down. You can't go straight from doner kebabs to salmon salads because it's far too far removed.
Yeah.
So it's just taking those little steps. And ultimately, I've had clients who've hit 6 out of 10 every day and they've still lost weight. And then that's great. Like, don't get me wrong, I'd like to see people hitting 10 out of 10s, but this is people who are having, not very much veg, but they're controlling their appetite, having a little bit of bread, having 2 squares of chocolate, they're having a small glass of wine. But that's good enough for them to get results. Now, some people won't. But if you can get away with it, then by all means do it.
Make it as easy as possible.
I want to see people, if someone can be healthy, like eating lots of nutritious food at a healthy weight, happy and consistent, then that's what we're looking for.
Making progress.
Yeah, it's not about hitting 10 out of 10s and being like, this is shit, I hate it. Like, we've done it before and dieted too hard, and it's just unsustainable, for everyone. If you look at bodybuilders, people have massive blowouts, don't they? It's very rare you get the person who finishes a show and goes, I'm going to just keep eating veg and white fish.
It's a little bit similar to, I know, in terms of like a powerlifting program. You can have a program that's going to get you all PBs, but you hate doing it. Or you can have a program that might take a little bit longer to get PBs, but you love doing it. Like on my program at the minute, I have triceps and biceps of choice to finish, which I think is awesome.
I hope that's every day.
It's actually at the end of every session. So if people enjoy it a little bit more and have that little bit more freedom, it's like you said, don't press the big red button. People are going to want to press the big red button.
I think just quickly to add like the idea of perfection as well, like even for a good example. Fenner's leaving. One of my clients the other day was really cross. They said, I had really bad sugar cravings. I ended up eating like 2 pieces of dark chocolate, really, really annoyed with myself. But then when you look at that and you say, okay, so how would you have handled that, before you started with us? Like, well, I'd have had a pack of biscuits, I'd have had, a bowl of cereal, I'd have had, this and this. So it's looking at those small wins, because having 2 pieces of dark chocolate, 130 calories, is a massive win for me compared to a full pack of biscuits and 100 grams of chocolate. So just people putting too much pressure on themselves to be perfect all the time.
I think success is relative. It's like, having that compared to, like you said about the biscuits, that's still a good win.
Massive.
You don't have to be
so positive
about it.
I'm not sure if it's. I know Chris Kershaw, mutual friend of ours, likes. I think it's Dan John says.
Shout out to Chris if you're watching. He's had 2 episodes. There you go.
It's Dan John says if you finish the year a pound lighter than you start, consider that a success, because most people can't do that. And people get so frustrated with like plateaus or with losing weight slowly.
Slowly.
Yeah, if you're making progress, how long have you been overweight for? How long have you been at that weight for? Odds on it's not 2 months or a month. So be happy with
going on a slight tangent on that point. Then, what do you? Because some people come in and you see these really really dramatic cuts where people get either shredded in 4 weeks, or just before a holiday they'll go from being 30% body fat to 10% body fat. What do you coach? What do you recommend? Because I know people listening, they'll see progress photos and think, oh, wow, like why is that happening to me? Do I need to start taking shakes? Do I need to start doing this? What do you recommend?
I think it depends what you're doing it for, doesn't it? So if someone has got a single snapshot in time they want to be in great shape for, so something like a wedding or a holiday or a photo shoot or a competition, that would be the time I would say you can take the more extreme measures, because it's really important to you.
Yeah.
If someone
you've got that thing to peak for.
Yeah. If you've got
that
someone who has been overweight for a period of time that makes them unhappy, then I would recommend 7 days of the week to not take that approach, because it's not going to. They're looking for a lifestyle change, aren't they? They're not looking for a single day to look really good. They're looking for the rest of their life to be healthier and happier. So then you have to take the slower approach, because it just doesn't work, because you have to sacrifice so much to get to that point. And so then I would recommend the slower approach. And there's also times where maintaining's fine. So we've got people who are, having a shit time, whatever it may be.
I mean, Christmas is a great example as well.
And if you're having a really rough time at the moment, don't worry about losing weight. Just don't go backwards.
Yeah.
You see people, it's so, I'd say it's sad, because we obviously love what we do, and people come back and they go, I've been useless for 3 months. I've packed on a load of weight. Like, why didn't you message us after 2 weeks? Because we could have, this is what we're here for. We're here to help and to coach you. And you know that being accountable works for you. But people are so, well, I can't stick to it now, so I'm not going to try. Yeah. And then they reverse backwards. They get to this point where they're
desperate for that magic time when everything's going to be perfect.
They get as desperate as they were when they started, because they're really sad, and then they message you, rather than kind of getting a bit more of a handle on it early doors and just saying, look, I need some help. And I think that's the thing that people really struggle with. There's a lady I work with at the moment who has lost a huge amount of weight and kept it off. I don't think I told you this. And she said, if I gained it back, I'd be humiliated. I'd be too humiliated to come and tell you. Bear in mind, I've worked there for 2 years. She's lost 4.5 stone and kept it off for a year. And she's still too embarrassed if she puts it back on. And you just think, what a shame. Yeah. Because imagine that. This system, it doesn't work for everyone. It works for her, undoubtedly works for her. So if she had, a family event or a stress come up and she gained weight and refused to come back, she could then live the rest of her life 4.5 stone heavier, because she was unable. She found it too hard to come and ask. So just to go back to the question that you asked 10 minutes ago before I started talking, was some people are so unwilling to see maintenance as progress. And I would say if you have dropped 7 pounds, 14 pounds more, be content holding on sometimes, like literally holding on, gripping on, and not
taking that backward step.
Yeah, exactly.
I know what I have been saying to the clients that I train at the minute. I think everyone knows what's going to happen in December with Christmas. Everyone knows there's going to be mince pies, hot chocolates, German markets, all that sort of stuff.
Bleeding turkey and sprouts, yeah.
And I always think November is a little bit like the week before you go on holiday when you're at work. So it's a little bit like, I won't do this work because I'm going on holiday in a week, so what's the point? But then, obviously, when you come back from holiday and that work's there, it's a little bit like the new year. When you come back, you're going to have more work to do when it comes in the new year. So if you maintain through November and December, then you start in the new year in a good position rather than just...
Don't waste your January motivation. Like everyone's going to be more motivated January 3rd. So don't start a stone heavier than you are now.
Yeah.
Because you're going to waste your January motivation. You're going to use that month to lose that stone you just gained. You look the same as you did before.
That's it. But blatant plug. We do consistent Christmas, which we ran last year. Last year was the first year, and we'll be doing another one this year, which is the same thing where we just want people to maintain the weight through December, and it's just about kind of like setting limits on what you're going to have. So if you're going to go out and drink, either kind of restrict which choice of drinks you're going to have, or how many drinks you're going to have. Or for me, it's mince pies. So I allow myself like 4 a week. And then I say,
I thought you were going to say 4
because I can quite easily sit down and eat 3 in a oneer, every single day. And then, I gain a festive £10 on the rest. And then
even Fenton Bolt.
And I spent January losing that weight, whereas so I'm kind of end of January, I'm back to where I was the start of December.
Yeah.
I think just to take a hold on that and take it on a tangent, because people want to know how to schedule in off-plan food, like because Christmas is coming up, so it's all well and good saying protein, veg, fats, don't eat processed food, but how are you going to put that stuff in? And I think it's looking at what's really important to you is, you said about festive £10, is that if you wrote down your week's worth of food over Christmas last year, you could pick the bits that are really important to you. So going out for drinks with your mates, staff, the staff Christmas party, the Christmas dinner,
family meal.
But it's the family meals. But there's the extra bits, aren't there? It's the sitting around and mindlessly eating,
snaffling mince pies and College Street at your desk,
which doesn't give you pleasure. So pick the bits that really mean something to you and try and bring back on the other stuff, because there's so much food around. It's so easy for people to overdo. I'm not saying that I'm not part of this, because obviously I am, and it's trying to look at. It's just being mindful of what you're eating.
Yeah, like, people almost find it like it's Christmas, it's inevitable that I will gain half a stone. Like, well, not really. You can still have, like, all our clients kind of still report that they had a great time, they didn't miss out on anything, but they didn't pile on the usual kind of 7 to 10 pounds that they normally do around Christmas, because they've just been more sensible and conscientious with the choices, but still eating them.
Yeah.
Just not like me eating 3 mince pies a day.
Yeah, or you could cut that in half, couldn't you? Have 1.5, and suddenly you've halved the excess you've had. That's a massive percentage drop, isn't it?
You could drop your go on what's your science about the 3 bites?
Oh yeah, it's a good one, isn't it? So I don't know if you've heard this before, that the psychology studies of pleasure of food is that it's the first 3 bites that are the most satisfying ones, and after that,
I can definitely do a mince pie in 1 bite.
Is that why I'm 3?
3.5 in 1. So, you see it, don't you, where I can think of all the times when I've done it, where I've been like, oh, I can't wait to have some chocolate, and you buy a 100-gram bar, and you get to the end of it and you go, I'm not really enjoying this, but I've done the first 60%, so I'm going to finish it off. And it's so true. That really kind of resonated with me about the first 3 bites, the ones where you go, God, this is so good, and your brain is flooded with dopamine, and you get the carbs and the fats and everything's amazing, and then you go, probably isn't as good as, I don't need all of this now. I've always found that really helpful. Sometimes you see people when they go off plan and they go, I'm really happy with my decisions. And I said to somebody the other day, I said, was that 4th cookie as good as the first one? So I bet my mortgage it's not. And he was like, yeah, you're right. It's not, is it? Because you don't, people, these amounts are sold. They're trying to make money.
Yeah.
I'm trying to look through that sometimes.
Yeah. I think sometimes as well, it's just like boredom. It's just like, oh, well, I may as well finish the packet now. Because I'm not actually doing
habits,
anything.
Isn't it? Because you've always done it.
Yeah.
Like, I've always done it.
So that's what I'm going to say. That's another thing when you're saying, like, kind of what do we expect our clients for the kind of the weight loss and stuff, is very keen on kind of teaching like a skill set. You got any friend there, buddy? So teaching people the skills that they need to kind of go off and maintain it, hence the name Sustain Nutrition. So it's kind of looking at where people fall down and addressing that. So whether that's kind of like time of the month, hormonal, emotional eating, boredom eating and stuff like that. It's kind of looking at those and addressing them and coming up with different solutions for them so they can practice them. And that's, another part of coaching is it gets a little bit uneasy sometimes when you question some people, like, kind of, why do you feel you made these choices? You think it's because you were bored? Do you think it's because the reward was to make yourself happy? And it's just kind of piggybacking those with different behaviors, whatever you're going to do. If you shift your focus, if you're angry, you want to make yourself happy, you eat a lot of biscuits, but then ultimately that's only short-term happiness because you're kind of pissed off because you're not happy with how you look, then you need to piggyback that with a better habit, a better way of making yourself feel better. So whether that's listening to music or meditating or playing with a sausage dog, you've got to find a better habit, and it's just, working on those skill sets.
I think people really struggle, don't they? Because you say to them, why do you have this? What could you do differently?
And it's not like an aggressive, why did you have this? It's
just
like, let's look at this, because people are very keen on saying, today's a new day, I'm just going to draw a line under it, I'm going to pretend it never happened. That's cool, but if you don't do something different, it's going to happen again.
You've probably done this a few times. This isn't the first time you've been
finding
upset.
solutions. Finding solutions
to your obstacles.
It's hard, isn't it, to look at where you've gone wrong, and people are often reluctant to do it, as James said, and kind of just go past it.
It's painful looking at your errors, failures, but your mistakes.
But it's like, the one I say to someone is like, if your partner came home from work and said, I punched someone at work today, but tomorrow's a new day, I'm not going to talk about it. Well, you've made a mistake. Something's gone wrong. We need to look at why this happened. You wouldn't just go, well, if someone's child came home from school and went, I punched a kid at school today, but I'm not going to do it again. But I'm going to start again tomorrow. You wouldn't go,
I'm not sure why I did it.
Yeah, you'd look into that behaviour and to try to figure out and find an alternative. And that's the same with food. It's just that food has a much smaller impact short term, but the long term one is massive, and people get lost in that. Like, I really want chocolate. Like, in 6 months' time, will you be glad you had that chocolate bar?
Yeah.
You'll have no idea why you ate it. It's all short.
Even the following day as well. Sometimes it's just like, I'll get people and they'll say like, oh, and I resisted this to this. Like, well, you didn't resist it. You chose not to have it. Do you have any regrets not eating it today? No, not all. I'm really glad I didn't have it. It's just looking beyond that kind of short-term pleasure.
Yeah, the next day.
Yeah, because as soon as it's like you wake up refreshed. You're just like, oh, I'm so glad I didn't do that.
Yeah, I've never woken up and gone, oh my God, I wish I'd got more pizza last night, or I wish I'd just gone off plan further. Because it's trying to keep
makes absolutely no difference to your life.
Yeah, I think people have to sometimes forget that they have the goals, but they don't keep that in mind.
Yeah.
So I always say at some point, you're going to have to you get to that point where it's like, oh, actually, I've got my goal now. So what's the next one?
Yeah.
And it's being consistent up to that point. You mentioned it a little bit about obviously logging people's food as well. How is it just a food diary? Just people write the food? Do you do calories? What is it you work on? Because I know a lot of people will be like, I'm focusing on my calories today, or I'm going to do fasting, or this, that, and the other.
Yeah.
What is it that you work on? Because is there one size fits all? Is it right, everyone is good at doing calories, or this?
Yeah, no, I mean, like from our experience, again, like kind of 99 out of 100 people don't need to count calories, or certainly not straight away. It's just focus on your food quality, and the biggest one is consistency. So it's very easy to eat well Monday to Thursday, and then just go to pot Friday, Saturday, Sunday because you deserve a treat, or it's the weekend, or whatever reason. That's usually the issue. It's not because people don't know necessarily the calorie value of foods. It's just because we're eating too much crap over a weekend, usually.
Or little bits over.
Yeah.
I don't think people don't realise.
Bits and bats. So logging the food first, and then focusing on food quality, and then focusing on consistency, and then you can kind of look at portions. And then there's the last thing, you can start looking at calories. But there's no need to overcomplicate things.
Mm-hmm.
You kind of said before, it's like paralysis by overanalysis. People get overwhelmed by how many grams of protein, how many grams of fiber, how many grams of carbs, what post-workout shake I should have, when should I have this, what's my perfect breakfast? Don't stress.
This isn't what's causing you to be where you are.
Yeah, it's kind of, get the big balls in line before you worry about the little balls.
I wish you hadn't looked me in the eyes and said that. There's a thing, isn't there?
I'm going to look you in the balls.
I have pants on, by the way. You can't see. It's just, if you look at like balance over a single meal, a single day, a single week.
Yeah.
So you could have a single meal, someone could have, the standard one we would see is too many fats, or fats and carbs and not enough veg at a meal. Then you can look at it over the course of a day. So someone may have no veg over a day, and they're likely going to have more carbs and more fats. So again, too many calories. If they get the meals right and the days right, you have to look at a week, because again, you can see someone get 6, 10 out of 10s and just absolutely ruin a week with a disastrous day on a Sunday. If you're looking at someone who's eating, if they've got to that level of consistency where it's 6 days really well, you're dealing with small margins. So say they're on 1,600 calories and they have a cheat day, it is too easy to turn that day into a 2,500 calorie day, an extra 1,000 calories, and that's going to wipe out your deficit. I had someone the other day, I think she went to Wagamama's, and she chose what would look like a reasonably healthy option. But it's 1,100 calories.
She got for the squid, deep fried squid.
Might have been. Oh, is it 1,100 calories?
Oh, it's a good time.
It's delicious.
It's a good time.
And so many of those things can be done without putting your food into MyFitnessPal. So I worked out all my stuff last night, and I think I wouldn't say my gripe with calorie counting, I think it's brilliant because it's so effective. But it's like, if you look at the recipes I did, I had to search out all the different ingredients and put them in, because the difference between, just as an example, Morrison's diced beef and Aldi diced beef is 5 grams of fat. So suddenly, if I'm eating, and I can eat 500 grams of beef a day, 25 grams of fat, 200 calories over the week, that could be someone's deficit, and all they've done is choose the wrong brand of beef. And it's so easy because people go, I have 15 canapes at a party, MyFitnessPal, 15 canapes. whatever, any random number. And you might as well just pick a random number generator. And you have to be so geeky with it, I think, especially once you get to those fine margins. And most people can lose weight before doing that, just by doing the things we said.
Yeah, I think, having everyone looks at sort of like elite athletes or people that are bodybuilders or, people at the top end thinking, oh yeah, I'll just follow what they do. But they're, like you said, their margins are so small. Like, they're not competing for a world title. They don't need to drop down for a boxing fight. Yeah. It's just, right, I want to get in shape so I can, wear what I've not worn before, or I can look a little bit better when I go on holiday. And I think that's where people sometimes, when they are tracking things, look for the most complicated things. Isn't
the hardest way to do it.
Best one. Yeah, I think it's almost like people, not like a scapegoat, but people want something to buy. Like, well, I've not been successful because I've not counted calories and stuff like that. It's like the biggest thing is going to be consistency. It's just eat well, eat like an adult, a sensible adult, consistently.
No turkey dinosaurs.
No turkey dinosaurs. No ham with bare faces in.
I saw a good meme the other day where someone said to their kid, "Don't play with your food." And he said, "If you didn't want me to play with it, why did you buy me turkey dinosaurs?"
Yeah, just eat like an adult. Don't eat like you're at a 9-year-old birthday party.
An unsupervised one is when people say, if you track your calories and then you can adjust from there. But if you look at the reason you've got overweight, so in the past, why have I got overweight? Takeaways, chocolate, alcohol. If I'd logged it all, Morrison's, shout out, up for sponsors.
50 pence for 5.
Is that if I tracked all those, I would not at 5 pints in have gone, that's 1,500 calories. I'll stop now.
I've hit my limit.
Because I'm a 10-pint man. So it's like, that isn't the issue. The issue is not that I didn't know those things were there. It's that I was habitually eating foods that I didn't really enjoy. I wasn't mindful of it. I didn't have enough nutritious food in my diet. I've been talking about it recently, is that I've really got like a good hold on my diet and found something sustainable for me, because I'm prepping my food in advance. I'm eating meals I enjoy. So if I have 5 good meals a day, I don't have the space for more shit food. Whereas if I can think in the past when I've been bad, is I've skipped breakfast, I've got to lunch, got to like 2 o'clock, gone and got 2 meal deals from Tesco, which obviously don't fill me up, and then get crap in the evening. Yeah, super simple to fix, isn't it? The difference isn't me swapping out my Mars bar for a piece of fruit. The issue is I've not had breakfast, I've not had lunch, I've not had a good dinner.
Yeah.
And that is a lot of people. It's not because they haven't been tracking their meals off plan.
And it's just overcomplicating it. It's giving you another thing to go wrong.
So hard.
Because the kind of thing we see when people do want to track it, people insist on tracking. Like, so we've got no problem with people tracking. I think it's important to know the kind of calorie, or have an idea of the calorie value of foods. But I don't think it's necessary to track calories. But then they'll track really well Monday to Friday again. And then when they have a bad weekend or have a bad day, they'll refuse to track it. So then it's kind of all out the window then, because you've no idea what they've done. It's kind of totally got rid of the point of tracking in the first place.
Yeah, I don't want to come across as anti-calorie tracking, because it obviously
it's something we both
works really well, and I have done before. I just think it's really hard to do.
It's not sustainable.
Yeah, so it's not something that if you look at our demographic, if we had more athletes, then I'd say this would be my recommendation. Here's the,
I see the attraction with it.
Right? And I think the thing is because people want an exact blueprint to follow, and that's cool. What you're going to do when it's done, we mentioned at the start, didn't we? It's like, you look at a body coach, that's exactly what he does. He gives people the calories, the macros, here's the weights of your food. But what happens when you go away?
The recipes.
What happens when you go away? What happens when it's a meal out? What happens when you're on holiday? What happens when you don't want to weigh your food?
What happens when you can't weigh your food?
Yeah, it all goes to shit.
So when you go down for a party, you go down for a Christmas meal, you go out for drinks, stuff like that.
And people panic, don't they? And then it falls into that thing of, well, I can't do it, so I'll eat whatever I want. And I think that
ruined it now.
Another Dan John thing, obviously, piping Dan John, something chronic here. Do blasts of eating really well, like 4 to 8 weeks twice a year, or 4 to 12 weeks, something like that. He says people can't do it year round. So if you want to diet down and lose loads of weight, then by all means, plan your food, track it, etc. But have a simple system in play. And I think that's where ours would, if you would look for a way to complement macro tracking with sustain, that would be it, is follow macro tracking for a period of time, then transition on something like ours where you go, right, I'm going to take it easier. I'm going to look at the other things in my life. So I'm just going to have protein, veg, fats, and carbs.
Basics.
Yeah. And I'm going to focus, I'm going to schedule in some treats. A chocolate bar midweek, a couple of glasses of wine, and a meal on the weekend. That's your thinking done. Because otherwise, you're weighing everything, aren't you? Endlessly. You're weighing.
Yeah.
You know, when I was doing it yesterday, I how much cream am I having in this? How much sour cream? You know, how much beef? How much bacon? How much rice? How much banana oats? It's just
What kind of stew is
just
that?
mind. I told you I should both.
It's one of those things where I think, you know, there's throughout the course of a year, sort of life gets in the way. Like, you know, we're not elite level powerlifters or boxers where everything's planned out for us and everything is done for us. If you have the constants, which might be having protein with every meal and training might be thrown in there and making sure that you get your veggies in, that's constant all the way through, then everything else can go up and down. Like
you can then add weighing your food on top, can't you?
Instead of trying to have like, I can probably concentrate on, I was going to say more than one then. I can concentrate on one thing at a time. So why make it more complicated than trying to do loads and loads of tasks? Focus on this one behaviour, right? Got that nailed, right? Then go on to the next thing, and then you will start seeing results.
It's just not as sexy, is it? It's to say, it's much easier to say, here's our perfect plan.
Let's do keto. No, let's do paleo. Though, let's give you these set strict rules to follow. Like, you don't need them. You just need something that you can do consistently. And something that I do consistently might not be something that Joe does. Might not be something that works for you. It's finding what works for you.
Do you find that quite a lot of people come from trying all those different diets?
Yeah.
Or do you recommend people going out and trying them and then coming back to what works, or finding out what will work for them, like picking one from everything? What's your take on that?
I think our experience is that a lot of people struggle. It's rare we're going to be the first thing they've tried. So I would recommend people work with us because I believe in what we do. You know, I've seen really good success with it and people engage with it. So I wouldn't necessarily say, go off and try this. What I would do is if someone wants to do keto, intermittent fasting, carb cycling, calorie counting, is to do it with us. So what I mean by that is to still have protein at every meal or protein 3 times a day, veg, fats, slow release carbs, limit your processed foods, because we can then help keep them accountable to that. So if someone wants to do those things, you can then say, okay, how's it going? Is it working? Oh, actually, I was starving in intermittent fasting. I binged. Cool. Let's not do it anymore then because it's not working. Let's try something else. And you always find out people who want to do different things at different times, but you can fit loose parameters. You know, we just said, didn't we? You can add in weighing food on top of sustain. So you can have the basic principles and then just try different ways of applying it. It's not like you have to do keto or sustain. You could do keto sustain if you wanted to. So it's just working what people want to do. If someone says, I want to do IF, I can't just go, no, you're not doing that. Because then they're just going to do it, won't they? You might as well help them do it.
And the fact is, they all work from the same principle. So paleo, keto, get off your phone. Paleo, keto, fasting, all that is all just creating a calorie deficit. It's just finding whatever's easiest for you. Like I messed around a bit with intermittent fasting. It was all right. I didn't feel like I got any better results than I'd done before from kind of following a diet. It didn't make me feel any better, any different. You know, it's not for me. Some days I'll fast in the morning if I wake up I'm not hungry. Some days I won't. You know, it's just finding whatever fits for you. There's no hard and fast rules.
It's a little bit like training. You might go to your coach. Yeah, I want to do strongman training. Yeah. Right. Well, we still need to have the base of the program towards your goal, which might be fat loss, but we'll put a small dose of strongman training. We'll put a small dose of whatever in. Because this could be an absolute wrong quote. I have no idea whether I'm saying this
Just
right.
go for it. Just say it with a bit of conviction.
The minimum dose with the maximum effect. So if you've got a minimum dose of everything, like if you only have 3 things that you trial it out, then at least you know, oh, well, on that day, that one didn't work. I didn't feel very good on that one. But if I try it on another day, and then you can narrow it down to what works for you. I'm going to quote that. That's my own quote. No idea. No idea where I was going with that, but in my head it made sense. Going more into the training side of things, obviously strength chat. Everyone will, or 9 times out of 10 people will come in, what's the best workout for fat loss? How many sets of bicep curls, most important exercise, do I need to do to get a big chest? What do you recommend? What are your philosophies on training?
Whatever you enjoy and whatever you're going to do. Consistently. Consistently is a big word.
Effective.
Yeah. You know, ideally, we'd love people to go in and strength train, 3 to 4 times a week. And follow a progressive resistance plan that we've written and made really beautifully designed. But the fact is, a lot of people don't like lifting weights. They don't enjoy it. You know, me and Joe do.
They don't want to do it consistently.
Yeah, they don't want to do it consistently. So if someone prefers to go do body pump 3 to 4 times a week, or spin, or even Zumba, I'd rather they did that than find every excuse under the sun to not go to the gym and lift weights. So it's the same thing with the food. There's kind of like an optimal approach, which could be like eating whitefish and asparagus 3 times a day, which no one's going to do. And then you kind of got to kind of meet in the middle a little bit. So like I said, if someone hates lifting weights, then they're not going to do it.
Yeah.
So even though I'd want them to do that, I'm happy for them to go and do Zumba 4 times a week, because they're going to do that every single week because they look forward to it. So even though it's not optimal, it's what they're going to do consistently.
I think the only times that I wouldn't say push people on, but we say, so I've had a lady before who ate really well for 12 weeks and wasn't making progress. So I said to her, we have to change your training. You know, we've tried everything under the sun here. If it wasn't even 12 weeks, I think it was 8. And she was kind of fanning around with weight training a bit. I said, there's 3 variables you've got. You can train harder in the time you've given, you can train for longer, or you can train more frequently. What's he saying?
Fenton's just saying what he's thinking. His thoughts.
Take me with you.
And the biggest issue people have is time. So they often can't train more frequently. They can't train for longer. So they have to train harder. So you can do that by that. You have to be able to do more work at the same time. Get stronger. You know, getting fit is cool, but most people want to be leaner as well. You know, and have a more athletic, a more toned body. They want to be more athletic, more aesthetic. So weights is going to be the answer to that point. If you've got someone who starts and they're 16, 18 stone and doing Zumba, it's going to get the job done because they're going to burn a lot of calories doing that because they've not done it before. Once you get down to those smaller margins, you have to look at people getting stronger and being able to burn more calories, not doing anything. And it's harder for us to coach with people sometimes because you'll have this as well, especially for yourself with being phenomenally strong. You can burn a lot of calories. You know, Steve squatting 220 kilos for 3, that is going to send your metabolic rates. You have to need so much muscle to do that. And that's going to give you so much leeway with calories. If you are 60 years old, 60 kilos, Jane in HR, who jogs a couple of times a week, she's only going to be able to squat 10, 20, 30 kilos. You know, that's going to be challenging for her. She cannot burn very many calories. So you have to look at the ways that you can improve that, because it's cool, do Zumba and stuff, and some people it will work for. But if it doesn't, then what can you change?
Yeah, that's it. The kind of issue with classes is you can't control the variables, and that's why we always promote lifting, because you can lift more volume, you can lift heavier, you can do the same amount of work in less time, you can do more work at the same time. You know, you can control the variables, where if you go to a class, you're kind of
The mercy.
Yeah, the mercy of whatever the instructor wants to do. So even if it's body pump where you're lifting weights, you've got no control over, you can choose the weights that you use, but you've got no control over the tempo, the reps, the sets, you know, how long you're doing it for, you know, the order of the exercises. So people will say, oh, well, I'm up my weights. That's cool, but, you know, you're still only working for 45 minutes, and it depends. And same thing with spin, same thing with Zumba, you know, unless you start wearing a weighted vest or something like that for Zumba, or dragging a sled whilst you're doing it, there's no really way of kind of increasing.
I would love to see someone doing that.
Well, we've got a sled downstairs, and I've got those salsa hips.
People just getting wiped out by a sled.
Shakira.
Do you find that the more, obviously by the sounds of it, you're trying to educate the people that you work with as well? So
they've got to make a choice. Like I say, it's, you know, you kind of got to make that choice of, right, do I want to do something? Like I said, we really, you know, me and Joe love lifting weights, and some people do. A lot of people don't. It's kind of like, it's that choice of, do you want to get the optimal results, or do you want to be entertained? And I was kind of thinking about it today. It's like, would you send your kids to a school where you're going to get a really good education, or you're going to send to a school where they'll get an okay education, but they'll have loads of fun doing it? And I've got to make your choice there. Yeah. And that's kind of, do you want to lift weights, or do you want to be entertained and do a class?
Do you find that a lot of people end up gravitating towards, or I don't want to use the word pushed, but going more into strength training the more that the food gets better, and is the training sort of the last resort? Because that the entire saying of you can't outrun a bad diet.
Yeah.
Do you find that people end up gravitating more in the end, gravitating towards strength training?
It's kind of when you like Joe said, is you kind of pushing people towards it, because you know, you can tighten up so much on the diet, and then you've got kind of 2 variables. It's your input and your output. You know, what you burn in, what you eat in, and there's only so far you can go with what you're eating before you start compromising your nutrition. So then you've got to look at kind of what you're burning and how efficiently you're doing it. So if you're going to, say, 3-4 classes a week and you're not losing weight, then we need to look at, say, getting stronger, controlling those variables. And that's the best way to do it, is to take your training under control yourself, instead of just going, I wonder what the teacher's got in store for us today. I hope it's fun.
I think people do. I think they, some people will take longer and they'll have to be pushed to it a bit and say, look, I really think you need to do this. And I think for other people, it's more in vogue now, isn't it? It's much more CrossFit. He's so much bigger now. Just gyms are pushing, like certain gyms are pushing those things more. Bikini competitions, things like that, is more popular. It's not, I'm going to do a few bicep curls and get jacked. Obviously, there's still that belief for some people, but it's a lot less common now. I guess with the whole Gymshark thing as well, is that women are wanting to lift weights. Mm-hmm. So people are going to go to it faster, which is only going to be a good thing for everyone's health and physiques, rather than, and again, no issue with the classes and stuff. I just think that if you've got a more effective option, why not do it?
Yeah.
So, base of that, get strength training, which is
always
good.
So, good job we didn't say do Zumba, isn't it, mate?
Well, going on to flipping that on its head, obviously, the people listening, if you are listening, I'm guessing if you are listening to this, you are doing strength training, whether that be powerlifting, strongman, bodybuilding, or whatever. What's the take on conditioning? So this is a topic that is, I've been asked quite a lot by clients, and they've said, I actually had a powerlifter, it was actually last night, actually, at a powerlifting club. I went for a run this morning, I thought I'd had some conditioning in. Bearing in mind that in 3 weeks' time, they're going to test their 1 rep maxes. So it's becoming a lot more specific in the club. So there's no accessory exercises, just squat, bench, deadlift. Yeah. We're going to get heavier. What's your take on conditioning? Is there a right, you've got to do this for 20 seconds and this for 5 seconds, and this is going to get your results? What's the take on conditioning when people are doing strength training? Because obviously we've chatted about nutrition's nailed. Okay, now we're doing strength training. What's the conditioning? The whole argument is obviously high intensity training, low intensity, steady state. What's the correct answer, or where should be people pointing in the right direction?
It always depends, isn't it? Depends what level you're at. So your man there who's doing the powerlifting competition.
Woman,
well, was it? Excuse me. Probably a lot stronger than me as well. So I would say to not ask us for that. I'd ask someone like yourself, because if you are peaking for 1 RMs, we're not sufficiently qualified to say, which sounds like experience in it, do we? To say this is what you should do, this is what you shouldn't do. So you need to find, if you're taking that seriously, to find someone who really knows the answer. If you're just trying to get a bit stronger and a bit fitter, then probably do what you enjoy. Again, do what you're going to do. So I think, in my experience of conditioning work, the thing that's got me the fittest, the fastest, was when I did minute on, minute off hill sprints on a treadmill at 15%. I got super fit as when I boxed. But no one's going to do it because it's too fucking hard. It is like the hardest thing I've ever done. Sorry, dropping the F-bomb. So if any friends are impressed, it's just too much for most people to do at the intensities they need to get those level of results. Whereas if they're going to enjoy the prowler or a circuit or a CrossFit style session, then do that.
But I think, for our clients, again, or as always, anything kind of nutritional training wise, it totally depends. Like I said earlier, you've got 2 variables for weight loss, input and output. So if you're losing weight by eating better and lifting weights 3 to 4 times a week, there's no need to add cardio for your weight loss. Now, you can do it if you want for your aerobic health. That's cool. But there's no, I think another thing that people get kind of distracted with is that January syndrome, where they want to do everything. So they change their entire diet, they lift 4 times a week, they've got 4 spin classes a week, and do 40 minutes of incline walking 4 times a week, and it's just too much and it's not necessary.
That's what Phil Heath does.
Yeah, to kind of quote like Phil Learning, you've got kind of like so many bullets to fire with your fat loss, and if you shoot them all off at once, then you kind of scuppered, because your body's always going to kind of catch up with what you're doing. It's always going to try and match it, the input with the output. So if you're doing all this cardio and you're doing all your weight training and you cut back on your diet, eventually your body's going to plateau and you're going to stop losing weight. And then where do you go from there?
You'll probably quit before that. If you fired all those bullets at once, it's too many changes.
So that's when you want to kind of, so you increase your food quality, you lose some weight, you start lifting weights, you lose some more weight, you add some HIIT, you lose some more weight, you add some cardio, you lose some more weight. And these are kind of different things you do as kind of stages. So to do it all in one go, or think that your program has everything in it, is just a little bit foolish for me.
I'm quite glad you. I thought that was quite a good way of summing up there. It sort of reiterated to me that I aren't going too far wrong. And for people listening, it's not. Yeah, don't do everything at once. And when you're saying do conditioning that you enjoy, people think, or I've had clients say to me, laugh, just being like, well, what do you want to do today? Do you want to do some strongman stuff? Do you want to do some complexes? Or do you want to sit on the row for a little bit? Oh, well, I might sit on the row. Like, it doesn't...
Are they rowing?
Just sit on the row. Yeah, it doesn't have to be dead complicated. It's not one size fits all. So when you're going out and speaking to coaches and they're saying, oh, well, you've got to do this, you've got to do that, it's got to fit with you. The example of, okay, it was a specific example for the woman that was powerlifting. I would recommend, right, well, you don't really need to do any conditioning because we're not competing in a powerlifting competition. We're only doing doubles and triples, so it's not really the end of the world. But if you're just wanting to put a little bit of muscle on and just get a little bit in shape, get strength training, then add the conditioning on which you enjoy. And with once the priority is getting your nutrition sorted, check out these guys, because when you look at their content that they put out there and the results that they're getting, obviously it works. So on that note, what would be your top tips or words of wisdom from everything? Because we've covered quite a lot of stuff. I didn't realise. It's now actually Friday. This is how long it's been. What would be your top tips or words of wisdom for the people listening?
I would say the one for me is plan your food. Is if you are looking to achieve something, then the more you can plan and have prepared ahead, then the better you'll do. You've got to think that there's always decisions to be made. So when you wake up in the morning, what you're going to have for breakfast, lunch, dinner, snacks, whatever. If those decisions are made ahead of time and the food is there ready to eat, it's going to make such a big difference. I think that's the thing, that whenever I've eaten well, that's always been the hinge for me. So if I give myself a chance to go off, I will. Whereas if I have the food there ready to go, then it's going to work so much better. That doesn't mean you have to cook everything, but if you think, right, on Wednesday I'm out and about, I'm driving down the M1, I know there's an M&S services, I know I can get meat and a salad box from there. That is a decision made. You're not going to end up somewhere else. I think that's probably the thing I see the fewest people do that has the biggest impact. And again, that when the limited few people do it, it works really, really well.
I think for me, consistency. So just find things that you can do, find things that you enjoy, and they don't have to be optimal. They just have to be consistent. So if you have the best training plan in the world, but you only do it once a month, then it's no good. If you've got a mediocre training plan and you do it 4 times a week, then you're going to get much better results. The same thing with your food. It doesn't have to be perfect. It just has to be better than something that you can do consistent. So if having a tub of Halo ice cream across the week works for you, then go for it. If having 25 grams of dark chocolate a day works for you, then go for it. Don't feel you have to be perfect. Just work on something that's consistent.
Consistency and meal prep. There you go. There's 2 top tips for you. Thanks for taking the time.
Pleasure.
To chat with me today. Good to catch up with you both.
Good to see you.
I think I finally recovered from the class that we've just done.
You stopped panting about the halfway.
So if people or anyone listening would want to get involved in the nutrition coaching side of things with you, where can people find you and get involved in coaching?
You can go to www.sustainnutrition.co.uk. You can see kind of our plans there. There's also quite a few free downloads you can get from there. 35 rules for easy weight loss, training plan, and a little cookbook. Delicious. And then you can get us on, we've got a lot of content on Facebook, Sustain Nutrition, and Instagram, sustain_nutri. Also Twitter, which is exactly the same as the Instagram, so don't worry about that.
There you go. Again, thanks for taking the time to chat with me. I hope everyone enjoyed that as much as I did. Definitely, especially at this time of year leading up to Christmas, if you are struggling with nutrition, try out is it a seven-day trial?
Yeah.
Week trial, 7-day trial. Just look at the results that these guys are getting, and it's well worth it. So, thank you very much for listening. Thanks to James and Joe. And Fenton, he's gone. He's gone. He's asleep. Thanks very much, and I will see you all next week.
Thank you.
Cheers. Bye bye.